Hi and welcome to the Stoke City Vlogcast. With me as always is Jan. How are you doing?
I'm alright, thanks. Hi folks, I hope you're all okay.
Now, usually I'd introduce this by saying we're going to be covering Nottingham Forest versus Stoke City, but that might have to just wait a moment because we've had a bit of a bombshell thanks to Mr. Gary Rowett, and I think it'd be just interesting to dissect some of his comments first of all regarding the defeat to Blackburn Rovers, but also the actual comments that he made in regards to off-the-field incidents, shall we call it. So, what were your thoughts when you heard the interview?
I thought he was very truthful, which is what I like in a manager. I think he should have named and shamed. I always think he should name and shame.
Well, I admit I'm on that line of thought myself. Yet, just for an effective balance within this, the counter argument this morning appears to be that if it was in a normal workplace, such as, like for instance, I've worked in a kitchen, you wouldn't like your boss shouting you down in front of the customers, and therefore that is essentially what Rowett has done. He has criticised the players in front of us, the paying customers. Now, what I would question is, how different is football from real life in this aspect?
Well, again, we as the paying customers, we pay their wages, we've got a right to know who he's talking about, who we're going to be missing in the next games, and, to me it's a done thing.
It's interesting because if Stoke City FC was a fan-owned club, I'm not saying that the Coats aren't fans, but more like the actual large group of fans could hold stakes, wouldn't we have an entitlement to actually know this information, i.e. as owners of a club we have entitlement to know about what players are up to, etc. So just the fact that we don't have financial involvement, it does actually make me wonder if we do have a right, just as you've described it, paying customers, we do have a right to know what is going on.
Yeah, I agree, son.
Supporters are paying £349 at minimum for a season ticket. Surely they have a right to know why certain players look like they haven't played football before, which I think is becoming a criticism when you're getting comments that the defending looks like something that the youth team would do better than. And they're actually not praising the youth team saying that.
Well, I can only surmise that it's Ryan he's talking about, and Eric.
It certainly doesn't seem like Gary's hidden his thoughts regarding who it's about. I mean, Ryan's the obvious target. Even the Sentinel actually made a point of putting Ryan's name in their headline, which surprised me a little bit. And it could be Eric. I think he was a little bit defensive in his post-match interview, but perhaps rightly so if he didn't have a good game. But
at least he admitted he didn't have a good game.
Or even
but,
that,
in a roundabout way.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, like I say, the comments have actually drawn quite an interesting reaction. Like I've said, there's been two sides to the argument. You've got the he shouldn't have made the comments versus it's nice to have some honesty from a manager's side. Now, one of the actual things that has got me interested regarding this is when people are saying that he's honest, but maybe he's got nothing to back it up. So I've actually spent this morning having a look at some of his stats regarding his time as a manager. Now, I'm sorry if people don't like statistics, but I am going to bore you a little bit for a minute or so. Well, I started at Birmingham City, right, because I wanted to start in the same division. I didn't want to go to Burton, where it was probably a conference manager as well as a League 2 manager. He joined Birmingham after Birmingham started the season by scoring 12 goals and conceding 28. When he went in, he steadied the ship, and in 32 games he got them scoring 42 goals whilst they conceded 35. So it was just over a goal a game conceded whilst more than a goal a game scored. So plus 7 goal difference at the end of that first season. Then in his first full season in charge of Birmingham, 46 games, their team scored 53 goals, conceded 49. Goal difference plus 4. Now this is where it gets a little bit interesting. His final half season at Birmingham, 21 games, 26 goals scored, 27 goals conceded, so a minus 1 goal difference. Then, his first half season at Derby, he had 10 games, his team scored 15 goals, and his team conceded 17, so minus 2. But the even more interesting thing is last season, his first full season in charge of Derby County, 46 games managed, 70 goals scored, 48 goals conceded, plus 22 goal difference. So, why is this all interesting to me? I'm curious what Rowett can work with. I'm looking at this Birmingham side when he took over. 28 goals conceded. Now, I actually remember that the game before he came in charge, it was an 8-0 loss to Bournemouth. And I actually remember that because it was probably one of the most astonishing scorelines you see on television when you're watching the ticker. So you're watching that and you're thinking that manager's gone. And then obviously Rowett comes in. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, he's got to tighten that ship up. And to some extent you have to say he did it. I mean, it's hard not to say that 32 games played, 35 goals conceded, when you've scored 42, it isn't a bad return. So the reason why I'm going back to this is, compare our situation to Birmingham then. Do we have a reason to state that Rowett has tried working with what he's been told is good? So for example, he's been told Ryan Shawcross, he's a Premier League class defender. You've got Eric Peters, we signed him, when he was playing European football for PSV Eindhoven. You've got Bruno Martins Indy, who we signed from Porto, he was playing in Europe. And then you've got Moritz Bauer, who really wanted to stay, got a good fan reaction. Is it possible that he was sold a lie regarding the defence? And because of that, maybe he should have done better with scouting, there's no denying that. But do you think it's possible he was told something and believed it rather than maybe doing his own homework?
Well, there's definitely something with what you've been saying, and I don't think we'll know the truth.
The reason why, sorry to interrupt, love. The reason why I'm stating it like this rather than why wouldn't he do his own work, my belief is that if you're a championship manager, your focus should be on championship players. So you're constantly looking around your own league. It's not to say you don't keep an eye on the Premier League, but maybe you just look at it at face value rather than doing in-depth research unless there's a cup tie. So my argument could be that he's been told these players are Premiership players, but they've just had a bad season. Whereas in fact, you've got the likes of Ryan who maybe are at the end of their careers and maybe just sliding down in terms of level of performance. It does happen across all divisions. I'm not picking Ryan out to be nasty here, but you do get players who have been at the top of the game, but then as the years go by they have to drop down division by division until eventually they retire. And perhaps unfortunately for him, this is where Ryan is now, that he either has to settle for a reduced role with us or leave to go and find a better position in another club.
Yeah, at the moment I don't think he's at championship level at all. He's looking tired. He looks actually as if he's got no confidence. Some of the times he doesn't even know where he is. I'm sorry to be negative against Ryan because I do love the lad, but there's just something about him at the minute that I can't put my finger on, and it's not a good thing.
Someone took a screenshot, I think it was of Dak's goal, I might be mistaken, but we saw all the goals in the Goal Express on one of the channels, and that goal that I'm talking about, I'm assuming it was Dak's, it was the idea that a ball was played through, it was straight through the midfield and defence for Dak to score. Now, someone took a screenshot before the ball was played, and if I'm right, Woods could have gotten to the ball first, maybe it was tough for him being so close, but Allen could have also got to the ball, and if Allen just couldn't readjust and couldn't get there, Ryan at the very least should have been physical and stopped Dak from getting that ball. I'm assuming I'm remembering this screenshot right because I haven't got it to hand. But the point being, as a defender, you are the last line of defence, obviously, before the goalie. You have got to put the striker off. Dak might be a midfielder, I'm just making a point. Ryan had to do more.
Yeah, he got to protect Jack, and he wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been doing it all season.
The third goal they scored yesterday, Martina and Martins Indy, if I'm right, were the two running back to try and intercept the ball between, I think it was Dak and Harrison Reed, the goal scorer. Where's Ryan? I really don't like picking him out like this, but when Gary Rowett is making claims that no one in that back line can have a reason not to be dropped, is he actually being overly harsh? You know, I think it is actually just a blanket statement that if he tells them that and then tells the press that, he's just stating what we're all thinking. That is terrible defending.
Yeah, I've also noticed with Ryan on a couple of occasions as well, when they're in a line-up for when the free kick has been taken, Ryan moves. He doesn't want the ball to hit him. And on more than one occasion, he's actually moved the whole of his top half his body so the ball doesn't hit him. Whereas you see some players, and they don't mind getting walloped with the ball. I know it's going to come keen on them, you know, I'm not stupid.
I mean, you've talked about injuries before in relation to yourself, and you've compared your own personal back injury to what Ryan suffered. And I can't help but come back to that image that if he's suffering from a back injury, it must be having a mental impact on him.
Yeah.
And it could just be that he can't put himself about like he used to. It is a literal decline of physicality. And if that's the case, unless he goes to a league where the physicality is less, he can't really continue.
No, he can't. You know, you can't.
At least not at the highest level,
No,
sorry.
you can't dodge balls like that because it's putting Jack under pressure again. And that lineup is there, so I've been led to believe for 52 years, is to stop that ball going in the goal by any way.
I mean, I'm jumping back in, but it's a case of I've also been informed quite reliably that, for example, Bruno Martins Indy didn't have a good game yesterday. Again, to be honest, I don't think any of the back four did, but some people have said he was actually the worst out of the back four.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't help but look and think, well, actually, I'm not going to excuse Bruno, just to be clear, but I'm looking at what our options are, and we've got Ashley Williams on the bench. He had a poor game against Wigan. There's no way to excuse that. He shouldn't get sent off like he did. Yet, could Williams at least offer that little bit of reliability back into the side?
Can I just go back to what you've just said about Williams?
Of course.
He got sent off against Wigan, but Rowett should have taken him off beforehand.
Yeah.
Because he knew that... what was that fella's? Nick Powell was going to get him. You didn't have to be a genius to work it out, so he should have taken Williams off before that happened anyway.
I do agree that. I mean, I've stated so many times to actually begin to annoy me now that I am a fan of Gary Rowett. It's sort of why I've come out with a defence of him today, just to, even if he does make weird decisions, there is a manager in there somewhere, even if he's not exactly showing it to us right now. But I agree with you. That was a bad decision on the day by Rowett. He should have taken him off, even if he had trust that a senior player such as Williams wouldn't get involved. He should have just took it out of Williams' hands and say, look, I'm protecting you, I'm taking you off. It's nothing about you.
And okay, we might not have had another defender to put on. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he could have riddled it about a little bit and put somebody else somewhere and managed, but no, we had to get him sent off and we were down to 10 men, which made it even worse.
I do completely agree there. We just did not help ourselves one little bit.
So I think that Ashley Williams should be back in the team.
Yeah, I do think, if anything, I think Williams will have learnt from that. You know, it's hard to say because I think something happened at Everton last season that he got a sending off and it was pretty cheap. So you never know, maybe Williams is just at a point when he's losing his drag as a player. But we don't know, that's the thing. And right now, what we do know is that Ryan isn't at the top of his game. And the thing is, how we are at the moment, it is perhaps a case where we're just going to have to whittle through defenders. You know, if it's a case of Ryan isn't working, try Ashley Williams and Bruno together. If they don't work together, bring Sutar in and see if he's good enough. You know, we've got to just keep mixing and matching until we get a winning formula.
And this is what they should be doing on the training field.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's no good thinking, oh, who can I bring on now? You know, 70 minutes into the match. He's got to know what he's doing.
This is the damning thing, though, that by the sounds of it, they're training quite well. But then when it comes to what they do on the pitch, the players aren't exactly replicating what they do. I mean, he's stating in his interview yesterday that they never do anything what Ryan did, which is pushing up when there's an offside. And he's basically saying Ryan went against what we do, so why is he doing it? And it's quite I can imagine as a manager it's quite frustrating that you work for 3-4 days, depending on time between games, and everything you work on is just completely ignored. So I actually don't blame him for actually getting a bit frustrated. I completely understand what some supporters are saying, that you keep these frustrations internal and don't publish them to the press. But on the other hand, what other reaction has he got?
Yeah. I mean, I just go by Mourinho. Mourinho. I call him straightforward in a backhanded way. He calls his players, but then he doesn't play them again. They are dropped. Do you know?
I know where you're coming from. Someone actually did compare Rowett to Mourinho, and I understood where that comparison came from, because it isn't actually a very good comparison, because I agree that it isn't something that should be encouraged. Yet, I think there are times when player power can actually be a little bit too powerful, and you're frightened to speak of these high and mighty players. Whereas, in fact, if they aren't performing, they need to be called on it.
Yeah.
And I think, just looking at Man United this season, Luke Shaw has been one of Man United's best players in some games that I've watched. Yet last season, Mourinho was digging him left, right and centre.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that is what players do need. They need to be dug out, even if it doesn't look right in the public. Just try and get them to get a reaction.
That's what I say, name and shame them. And then, is that going to make Ryan and Eric play better? Is it going to do something to their mentality? That they've got it in their head now that, he's told the public now, we've got buck up. I don't know how people think, but I know if my boss had told me off like that, I'd have thought, God, I've got to pull my socks up or else I'm out of the door.
I mean, it's that, but there is also a situation where you've named two players there in Ryan and Eric, who are both at the latter ends of their career. Eric's 30, I can't off the top of my head remember Ryan's age, but they're both at the later end of the career. If they get dropped now, it's not like Luke Shaw, where he's got a chance to recover, he's got time on his side. Both of them will pretty much see this as the end of their time at this club, and maybe at this playing level. So it is a very brutal comment to make, and I understand that completely. The thing is, neither of them, if Rowett is proven right, and say he puts Martino at left back to cover for Eric, and he puts Williams in for Shawcross, there is going to be a point where, if it works, their careers at this club are over, because neither will be able to come back from it. It's not like Luke, where he's got time.
Yes, I totally agree, Josh. And there's a number of players, to be honest. It isn't just the defenders.
I mean, he singled out the defence yesterday, but I do completely agree that there are players at the club who are pretty much earning a dime for nothing. I mean, just look at Charlie Adam. He's been nowhere near the starting 11 for the first team this season yet. He's probably on decent wages, and he's doing his radio interviews, playing for the under-23s and making bad tackles in the first 10 minutes. But he's still earning a wage. Now, for me, that's something that should be discussed, but the club won't. Gary Rowett hasn't. If he was going to air all of the club's dirty laundry, I think he would have done. But I think yesterday he actually got really annoyed at it and thought, I've got to bring this up.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that he did what he did, and it started the ball rolling with us on here. But we don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. I mean, has he really given them a blast, or,
I think it's very hard to judge, and we are going to leave it there because we've got about 3 to 5 minutes left, and we need to just very briefly touch on our opponents. So, Nottingham Forest, I am apologising that we haven't talked much about you, but we are going to play you twice in the league, so I'm sure we can just show off what we've read about you a bit more after that. But do you want to read your stats, Duck?
Well, they've won 3, drawn 5, lost 1. They're currently in their top scorer is now Matty Cash, and he come from the academy, which I think is brilliant, as you know that. So he's on the same as Afobe, 4 goals.
Considering they've got Lewis Graben this summer as well, I think that's some achievement for a young local player to have done.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, coming from that the academy. It just shows that it can happen. And why we don't bring any more from the academy, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just looking here. It's 9 appearances, 4 in total. Am I right there? So it's 2 in the league. But that is still impressive. You know, like I say, I wish someone from our youth academy could come through and do that. And I actually read a comment on a Stoke page again. I'm sorry, Forest fans, for diverting again. But it was the idea that Julian Nguy, Tybalt Verlinden, all of our young players, they're never going to make it. This is why they always go out on loan and why no one ever rates them. And I can't help but remember the story that Marcus Rashford was going to go on loan to Crewe before he got his chance at Manchester United. And I think then, if that had happened, he'd gone to Crewe, maybe the Crewe fans wouldn't have liked him. You know, and you can't help but go into the world of what ifs, because what happens if that had been the story of Marcus Rashford? He'd gone to Crewe, not really gotten straight into the team and struggled, and then...
No England call up, nothing.
Exactly, so I think sometimes players just need a chance. It's not always the case, but it's like Tom Edwards played 2 or 3 games for us this season, and people are saying, no, he's not good enough, it's just because he's a local player he gets in the team. And I think, give the guy a chance. He's played 2 or 3 games for us this season, and he's played probably a dozen maximum for us in his career. Give the kid a chance.
Well, that is what they need. You know, if you're just going to keep messing about with Eric, for instance, then you're not going to get anywhere. You need to bring them players through.
I mean, I actually would love to know Stokey's opinions on this. And if you're listening, Forest fans, I'd love to know what your thoughts on this as a general issue. But would you rather see a team of younger players in your team if you weren't playing well? Or would you rather, as we seem to have done, try to buy more experienced players but have no guarantee of success or failure?
It's just what I'd like.
I mean,
definitely.
Because personally, I'd be willing to give a team of, say, under 25s with maybe a sprinkling of older players. I'd be willing to give a team like that a chance. You know, it might not be all success, but I'd be willing to give them time to work out how to play to their strengths than maybe what we're doing now as a club, which is got a mishmash of players who we don't seem to have a focus of style of play, and just trying to get them all to integrate together in some manner.
Well, I just want to leave my bit on a bit of a high for Nottingham Forest fans. I've always classed Nottingham Forest as a top team. Don't forget, I'm talking 52 years here, not last year or so. And I've always classed them as up there.
Mm-hmm.
And my prediction for promotion is actually Stoke, Blackburn and Nottingham Forest.
I've got to admit, we've got a long way to go for promotion, so maybe that isn't an accurate one, but yeah.
Them are the 3 teams that I would like to go up.
Yeah.
I think Nottingham Forest deserve to have a chance in the Premiership.
It's been a while for them. It's about, I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, 19 years maybe? I'm a little bit out, I'm guessing, but...
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got into football, they were in League One, so they have come some way.
Yeah.
So,
I always remember as being up there with us, you know, and the Uniteds and Chelsea's and whoever.
But yeah, we're going to have to wrap this up now, I'm afraid, so...
Prediction, quickly.
1-0, Stoke.
1-0, but I think it'll go to penalties.
I'll take that. So, thank you very much for watching the Stoke City Vlogcast, and we hope to see you again next match. Bye for now.
Okay, bye folks.